Hope that the coffee break worked well and that you are ready for the start of the second part of this, as I said already, very inspiring and interesting event. Let me start with a kind of wrap up, because what we have heard and learned so far is really great basis for the second part in which we are now diving into. So before I introduce distinguished speakers and guests of the second panel, I would just like to highlight a few takeaways. I wouldn't say key takeaways, because for each of us something else was the most important. But we started with Janez Potočnik and with his great overview of that, where we stand at this very point and what is European framework offering us actually for this green transformation transition and also for the recovery. He also mentioned the systemic compass as something what can help us navigate through the challenges and really focus on the issues that we have to solve jointly. And he mentioned digitalization as one of key enablers for this transformation. Then we moved to this really very concrete panel and workshop when we have heard what our companies doing, how they are traveling on this bumpy road, because it's not always easy to start something or even to transform something from linear to circular economy. So we've got inspired on that way as from this perspective as well. And we have heard how to apply things to say that we are not just preaching, but that we are doing the right things on the ground. And one quote that I will use now, and I like very much, from Leonardo Benuzzi was, "Innovation starts with killing your own idea." And I think it's very important that now in these times when everything is changing, when systems are collapsing, where we are facing not only climate crisis as it is obvious, but also other crises like economic, social, and so on, it's really the time for this openness, for wisdom, for readiness to radically collaborate and to learn from each other on every single step. And with that, I would like to open our discussion and to announce the speakers that will share their very valuable experiences as well as some special insights. So we have Roberto Sandrini, the coordinator of Circular 4.0. Then we have Luca Mion, head of innovation and tech transfer unit, Hub Innovazione Trentino. Then we have Giacomo Copani, cluster manager, Associazione Fabbrica Intelligente Lombardia. Anna Cameriaro, digital for eco industry, and Chris De Cuber, service provider at EFFRA. We will start with the first round, where each of you will have the floor and the screen to share your, let's say, contribution to the discussion that we will evolve further on. And I would, with this, like to invite the first speaker. So Mr. Roberto Sandrini, please log in, and the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the great opportunity to introduce Circular 4.0. Please let me know if you can see my presentation and in the full screen option. So I prepare very quick slides because I would like just to shortly explain the contribution that Circular 4.0 would like to give to the topic that today we are discussing. I would like to start from the title of our project, and that was thought at the beginning, at the end of 2017. So it was a quite early discussion concerning the relationship between digital technologies and circular economy. You see the title, we are talking about the capacity of digital technology to support, to trigger the sustainable production by SMEs in the Alpine space area. This is Circular 4.0 that practically would like to establish a community of practice, exchanges, knowledge, skills, policies that is composed by, of course, Alpine Space Circular Economy Community of Practice. This is one of the main results of this project, composed by a lot of public institutions belonging to all five countries that are in the Alpine space area: Austria, France, Italy, Germany, and Slovenia. We have additionally 50 experts that are working on value recovery, eco-design, and optimal use approaches. We have a set of public and private investors that will support the transition, the circular transition in the economy and in the entrepreneurial environment. And last, we have, because we are working with them, 280 companies that belongs to several industrial sectors, particularly those that I listed there: construction, plastic, textile, manufacturing, etc. So where are we? I just summarized the state here. Our past effort was related to the alignment of the policies concerning circularity. We identified the industrial sectors of reference that you have seen in my previous slides, and we developed a toolkit. Now we are working to increase the skills of the operators and to assist the SMEs. What is the future of our project? Is the elaboration of an Alpine Space action plan to foster the sustainability and the sustainable growth in Alpine Space area. We acted on 3 different levels. At local level, to promote the sustainable growth with concrete local action. We supported one overall Alpine vision coming from the European Circular Economy Package, but adapted to the peculiarity of the Alpine space area. And last, we would like to contribute to a specific macro strategy concerning the sustainable growth in Alps, specifically looking at the small and medium enterprises. This is our project, and this is the contribution that we would like to bring to this discussion today.
Thank you very much for this introduction, and you highlighted something what already previous panel ended with, actually, about the role of macro region and of the potentials here in Alpine region. We will refer to that in the discussion, so thank you for opening the podium for this thinking already now. And we will move now to Luca Mion and the Trentino strategies for digitalization and circular economy. Please, Luca Mion, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Latea. Good morning, everyone. Is there anybody sharing my slides? Okay. Okay, thank you. I will try to give you some, to cover some topics regarding the regional strategy, but also with a view on what we are doing within the EUSALP digital industry subgroup, which is very much linked, including what we consider very important ingredients to develop circular economy and digitalization in our region, but also in surrounding regions and in general in companies. So next slide, please. Okay, the autonomous province of Trento has granted full autonomy, as you probably know, in research and development, but also in many policy areas, including education, etc. And so we are in the mountains, in the Dolomites, in north of Italy. It's quite a small region. We are a little bit ahead of 500,000 inhabitants. But we are the highest, we have the highest Italian investment in research and development, more than 1.5% of the GDP. and many public-private research institutes, mostly because of the autonomy. In the recent years, the local government has been investing a lot in research bodies, infrastructures, and skills. Next slide, please. Okay, the research and innovation ecosystem. I wanted to tell you about some figures about that, because our daily job is technology transfer. So my view with respect to digitalization and circular economy is pretty much not only, but very much focusing on the added value provided by technology and technology transfer processes. I will tell you more about that later on. So the province, I've just told you that there are more than 40 public and private research institutes, many employees in R&D activities, I think quite over the European average, with the annual growth rate close to 7%. We are the first region in Italy for density of innovative startups. Quite a significant expenditure per year in research and innovation and research and development in the public and private sector. We have many business innovation centers, and we also have several incentives to companies to develop R&D initiatives in the region. Next slide, please. Okay, now the strategy of the region, of course, is very much let's say, relying on the smart specialization strategy. And this is the new areas of the smart specialization strategy, which includes, as you can see, at least 3 out of 4 areas where digitalization, circular economy in some way fit, because we have ICT and digital transformation, we have smart industry, and we have sustainability, mountains, and energy resources. So as you see, it is very much important for the policy of the whole region. Circular economy and digitalization is somewhere, let's say, included in I would say, in all 4 areas of the smart specialization strategy. Next slide, please. Okay, within the regional research and innovation ecosystem, my organization, Innovazione Trentino, is a body which promotes research and knowledge dissemination from research coming from the research bodies of the region. So we stimulate the innovation of the economic system, and we promote technology transfer and knowledge and skills from the research bodies to the economic and societal, say, system. Our shareholders include 3 research bodies, two foundations, and the University of Trento, and the Regional Development Agency. So I want to say that because to give you a key to understand also our role within the Action Group 2 in the EUSALP strategy. So we foster regional development through technology transfer. We are very much connected to the Regional Development Agency, but we have also very strong connection with the research bodies. Next slide, please. Okay, so we do, of course, many activities trying to deliver value, and especially in the area of digitalization and circular economy to regional SMEs. We do that by, of course, involving many departments and centers from the university or other centers, which have a lot of cutting-edge technologies and very much interesting knowledge. But we also have some, let's say, more organized activity. This is just an example of what we do with the business association in our region, Confindustria Trento. We are partner of Confindustria within the Digital Innovation Hub in our region, and we do a lot of activities with Confindustria. We support them in accompanying companies in the 4.0 journey, let's say. So we cover a lot of, we are very much interested in meeting companies and talking to them, to the management, in order to understand and qualify their needs, especially in terms of research and innovation. And many of the collaborations that we develop in this context are very much close and based on digitalization of processes and circular economy aspects, including products. So including, for example, trying to absorb innovation and some technology that help companies develop more sustainable products, for example, including new materials, just to give an example of things like that. Next slide, please. Okay, now a few words about what we are doing within the subgroup in the EUSALP Action Group 2. We have a timeline. It is not, of course, we are quite flexible. We work with many other regions. I think that almost all of the regions within the EUSALP macro region are participating to the subgroup digital industry. And so we have some streams of work covering circular economy, resilience of value chains, so resilience in general of our industrial ecosystems. And of course, we do a lot of work to support AltGov2, which is a policy program, let's say, running in the EUSALP strategy in general, making sure that we do things and projects that are fully in line with the priorities of the region. And of course, meeting the expectations of the economic systems and of the companies. Next slide, please. Okay, we have some streams. Okay, I wanted to give you some example. We have more than that, but just to give you an idea of the topics that we want to cover in the next year. And so you will see the topic here with the text in the bullet points, and then on the right you can see how they fit the strategic objectives in the next Alpine Space program. Of course, we are not trying to develop necessarily projects that fit with the Alpine Space program, because we are targeting a lot of funding programs. If we need funding, of course, to develop the activities, including regional funds, including funds that involve both regions. So we have a strong connections with the bioeconomy subgroup. So we will develop projects leveraging previous activities with them. We have a stream dealing with resilience and circular economy. We are working with the Lombardy region in preparatory actions, dealing with resilience of companies and value chains, and we will do a stream of work in this direction. We have a stream, which is very much important for us, dealing with data and AI for decision-making process in the industry and public administration. So there are a lot of topics that we want to address here, including intellectual property, standards, data, factor of the future, etc. Next slide, please. And then we have other streams. I'm happy to know that it was mentioned previously. We talked about raw materials, and one of the streams will cover, let's say, the study about the urban mining in urban regions. So how to recover raw materials in the waste electrical equipment, for example. So dealing with this kind of issue. And another very important topic for us is the transition towards a 5.0 society, which is, of course, evolving, let's say, the current industry 4.0 approach by putting R&I in a more sustainable way with a human-centric approach. So those are examples of what we are doing within. I think this should be the last slide, correct, Stefano? Yes. So I wanted to cover what the regional government is doing in terms of priorities within the smart specialization strategy, and what we are doing within the subgroup of digital industry. And this is very much important for us, also because I'm not sure it was mentioned before, but the next year, on 2022, the Autonomous Province of Trento with the Autonomous Province of Bolzano will hold the presidency of EUSALP. So we are now discussing which priorities to give to the different streams. So we are really this is the momentum where we are building value with other regions in these topics. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Impressive. And we see also, because here in Slovenia, sometimes we are frustrated how small we are, but then we say we are the country just of the right size. But in your case, I would say it is the region of just the right size, because what you do is worth one country, not only one region. So congratulations on that. And what could be a better forward for Anna Camilaro, who will now talk about digitalization in the service of the environmental issues of the industrial companies in our Regione Alps. So Anna, please, the floor is yours. And now we see how much digitalization there is around, and you will tap us into the details of your case. Thank you.
So thank you very much. I don't have slides, so I will just speak on this project that is a project that is part of a bigger one. So Digital for Eco Industry, it's a project that is run on the Campus Région du Numérique, so Digital Region Campus that is in Lyon. So this project is coordinated by an engineering school. So I'm a professor on this school that is Mines of Saint-Etienne. And we have this project with 4 partners. So one of the partners is the cluster Accelera in Lyon, and the technological platform Axel1. And the other 2 partners are 2 small and medium-sized enterprises that are named Optimistic and Inevo. And you will see in my talk that this partnership is very complementary. So the idea is to sensitize, educate, but also demonstrate to companies on chemical and engineering, namely, what are the advantages of digitalization in order to attain an environmental efficiency, and how we have constructed the project. The project has 2 steps. A first step that is the construction of a showroom that will be in Lyon, in the Digital Region Campus, and that will be connected at distance to 3 pilots that will be running, 1 in Saint-Etienne and 2 in Axel1 in Lyon. We will, to make this connection, we will use the softwares that are developed by Inevo and Optimistic, that are the 2 companies. And the deal is that we will connect to the pilots, and like this, from the room, we will have real-time following of what is happening on these pilots in terms of several indicators. These indicators will be, for instance, the emissions. It will be the energy consumption, the emissions, so gases, gas, liquid or solid emissions, the energy consumptions, the water and raw materials consumptions, and also the production efficiency. So the construction of this showroom is to show the advantages of a real-time connection, so a real-time acquisition of the data in these pilots, and also a real feedback in case of deviations from the normal functioning of how can we say, corrections that can be given back into these pilots to correct in real time what are these deviations. And the idea is to have a real-time optimization of the processes that are running. So, so the room will serve to sensitize, but also to demonstrate these abilities of the digitalization and these advantages. And the idea is to accompany this room with several courses that will demonstrate and will help these enterprises that want to digitalize their plans, to form their staff, to be able to implement them and also to run them with these softwares. And the idea also is to assist the companies in this transformation. There are several companies near Lyon that are that have several years. So the digitalization is now something that they want to go on with. And so the idea is to support them and to give them training to go into this digitalization way.
Thank you very much, Anna. As I have understood, you're really taking the companies by hand, because sometimes the digitalization is something what is so abstract and we cannot imagine where to start, what to do. So it's really beneficial what you're doing, and we will include that also as one of the pillars for the discussion further on. Now we are moving to the fourth speaker, Giacomo Copani, and we will hear about strategies of a Lombardy cluster on smart industry. Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Ladea. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. So I can share the case and the example here in Lombardy region. I'm representing the advanced manufacturing cluster of the region. And if you can go to the first slide, please. And for Lombardy, circular economy is on the one hand an absolute need, but on the other, it's a great opportunity. We do not have raw materials extraction, but we do have many industrial sectors, from raw materials to the final products. We have quite a good research and innovation system. So it can really be a big opportunity. That's why some years ago, the Lombardy region decided to elaborate and adopt a strategy towards circular economy at regional level. And to elaborate such a strategy required the assistance of the regional technology clusters. So today I can briefly present what is the result of such a process. I just mentioned that I'm representing the manufacturing cluster in Lombardy, but there are other 9 clusters in the other specialization area. Since manufacturing is very transversal and can enable circular economy in various areas, we coordinated the elaboration of such a roadmap, but the result is really regional one. Just to mention that the roadmap is an institutional document of the region, which includes the main priorities for development of the policy. So it's not the document of a cluster, but it's the document of a region. By the way, it's written in English, it's public, you can download this link. It's interesting to understand what are the priorities, also to make inter-regional business together. Next slide, please. So let me first tell you how we elaborated such a roadmap from the point of view of the process that we followed. It took more than 1 year, let me say 1.5 years, always working together with regional representatives, but especially with companies and stakeholders of the region. First, we defined a reference framework to classify the priorities of circular economy. It is the classical circular economy value chain, this one you see here, where we have all the phases from production to the end of life. Then we had a mixed top-down and bottom-up approach. So we started by searching and studying and summarizing all the existing documents and roadmaps on circular economy at various levels in Europe, at national level, and at regional level. Also, we have merged this collection together with some specific regional input coming from the regional authority. So this allowed us, on the one hand, to have a clear picture of circular economy trends in Europe and in various nations and regions. But especially we did a very big bottom-up work. This means that after this sort of awareness raising, we have collected specific priorities and barriers of the companies working in the region for the circular transition. So they are also sectorial, because circular economy in various industries, they in terms of needs and practices, but then we have to put them into a unique framework. So to collect the various priorities, we have organized a number of workshops, interviews, focus groups, and they were really also sectorial. This really allowed us to have an in-depth understanding of what is circular economy for the Lombardy region, not in general, but to support the business of Lombardy region. After that, the last phase was a sort of generalization of the various priorities, barriers, and ideas that we could collect in the various sectors in order to, let's say, outline priorities at the level of a multi-annual research and innovation roadmap. And this was the last result. So quite a complex process which took a while, but at the end it's very consistent, and especially, let me say, it's something which is strongly regionally grounded. It's not a general research towards circular economy, but it's what Lombardy region needs. So my last slide is the next one, just a snapshot on the results. We really have no time here, but please download the roadmap. Just as an example, imagine that for all the various steps of the circular value chain, there are in the roadmap similar priorities described. For example, for the production phase, we have identified priorities in terms of design for circular economy, circular production processes, traceability in product and processes within production and also during the use phase, but also new cross-sectoral business models for circular economy and circular economy oriented production. Inside every priority like that, we have subtopics, very specific, that tell what should be done in order to address such macro areas, okay? And this is done for the various phases of the circular value chain. Next point, please. Besides the specific topics, we have also investigated transversal priorities and barriers, such as legislation, the needs in terms of education and skills. There is a very strong cultural issue on circular economy in Lombardy, but everywhere, for market acceptance and so on and so forth. So not only sectoral priorities, but also transversal ones. And finally, in the last point, this is what I was mentioning earlier. Besides the description of such general priorities, we have very precise and detailed priorities per each sector of specialization of the region. Here you can see we have investigated aerospace, automotive, the metal industry, the food manufacturing, textile, and we have a sort of appendix for every sector specifying or instantiating these general priorities, in particular in the sector. So this was a quite detailed work, and this is the basis for all the policies of Lombardy region in the circular economy area in the next years. So I try to be very fast, but this is, let's say, our reference point for circular economy in Lombardy.
Thank you very much, Giacomo. I can imagine how complex it was, because making a roadmap is not an easy task. We will refer to that later on. And the added value is absolutely what you mentioned, that this is regional, and this appendix are those that are leading also the research and innovation that is so much needed for the transformation in the future. So great example. And maybe you can share in the chat box also the link to the document, because I'm sure that the participants would like to take a look at that. And now we are moving to the last but not least speaker in this first round. So this is Chris de Coubeur. European point of view. Now we have heard about regions, we have heard about hubs and so on. And now let's conclude with, let's say, helicopter view on that, how circular economy and the whole transition based on digitalization is happening. Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much for the introduction. If all is well, you hear me well and you see my screen. So yeah, maybe some words of introduction regarding EFFRA, European Factories of the Future Research Association. We're talking about a program within the Horizon, well, currently Horizon Europe program. In the past, we had Horizon 2020. This started in 2010, actually. So within the European funding context, there's what you can call a chapter, a partnership on Factories of the Future that is up to now, from now on, called Made in Europe. So what's happening there is consortia of researchers, academics, and most importantly, of course, for implementation, the industries are working together on the challenges and priorities of manufacturing. Now, one of these priorities is definitely environmental sustainability. And I will reflect on some of these aspects by looking at the framework of actually our strategic research and innovation agenda for Made in Europe, which are then giving the basics for the development of call topics. And actually, we had the first call that was closed at the end of the month of September, and we're looking forward to the next call topics with deadlines in March, etc. So definitely, the framework is a high-level view, a helicopter view. There's a lot of projects that really went to the details. We can talk about the portfolio of 300 plus research and innovation projects on a European level that have been launched thus far in this program. But on a higher level, of course, we link with what we can call the policy objectives. And on the left-hand side, competitiveness, of course, is a crucial point. Now, there's the Green Deal. And for sure, sustainability was a very important characteristic from the start of this program in 2010. Of course, notions of circularity, climate neutral aspects, CO2 emissions and all that became even more important throughout its evolution. The importance of people and SMEs is, and well, will always be very important because of course, the industrial landscape also in Europe and the innovation drives that also we find not only in big companies, but also in small companies. And of course, this importance of digitalization across the program. So that's already one important strategic point as well, digitalization on all the levels. Now, if I focus then on the specific objectives, we have 4, and excellence, of course, derives a lot from the competitiveness. And of course, the big challenge is to really unite the challenge of being competitive with long-term sustainability also from the environmental point of view, and derive also an economic value, a business perspective also from the environmental aspects and circular economy, because circular economy, it means an economy, and I think that's an important aspect. Which brings us to the product service aspects also that we see in the middle of this stack, involving also the human centered aspect as a 4th specific pillar. But then if we go to the technological aspect, we see that there's so many perspectives that of course lead to the excellence of manufacturing in Europe with smart and advanced materials. But of course now with the circular economy coming higher on the agenda, this long-term perspective of how circular these materials are, or the design of the products that use these materials in terms of disassembly and remanufacturing, and that's a very important point, becomes ever more important. That is related also to the smart mechatronics that is being deployed in manufacturing systems in order to be able, also with robotics technologies, to disassemble, to assess whether a component is still reusable, what's the value, the business value of such components in an aftermarket, etc., etc. Which brings me to the data analytics and the impact of artificial intelligence in dealing with this huge complexity, because there's a lot of reflows that needs to be managed. So this involves even more data processing, data sharing, which brings me to the other point, is the digital platforms. We talk a lot about the data economy, about data spaces. So this has an ever more growing impact also into the research and innovation in the manufacturing landscape, also on this European level. I mentioned already the business model aspect. Business is already a lot derived by data. It will help the circular economy to be actually, to be generated, to be created. And the skilled workforce still will become even more important. But last but not least, since we're talking about a circular economy and the collaborative approach that you mentioned so importantly at the beginning of this session, it's companies that have to work together. They will have to share data, and standardization will play an important part in this matter as well. So that's for me for now for the introduction. Thanks.
Wow. Amazing. Thank you so much. What you said at the very end actually is that everything is built on trust and transparency, and digitalization is of course an enabler of that, but there is still human factor next to that. So how to combine that? And now to open the discussion based on what we have heard, and since I have at least learned, then next year Trentino is taking over the presidency of EUSALP. So it is a unique opportunity now to think about that. What should you or we all together bring to the table for this next stage? So we are talking about the region, we are talking about the competitiveness, we are talking about sustainability, circular economy, everything what has been introduced. So my first question here would be to be very pragmatic and practical, since this is a kind of a workshop, really to bring one or two instruments that you find the most relevant to make everything what we have heard so far a reality. We have heard that some of you are already advanced, but still there is always something lacking, or there is something what you have learned through the process. So if we start with that, what is that one or two things, like it can be legislation, it can be related, we have heard a lot about financing opportunities and so on. So I will try, I will open with Roberto Sandrini, like what within the Circular 4.0, what are you bringing to the table as that, what should be really considered in the future?
Yeah, going straight to the points, a couple of ideas. From my point of view, we don't need new financial instruments. We have plenty of financial instruments. There are a lot of financial resources from now to the 2026, for example. We need to probably, what is really needed is a coordination of these resources, something that is not only linked to very, very, very local needs, but is approached with a systemic strategy. This is what is needed. Otherwise, we are just overlapping, we are just repeating, we are just supporting small and local initiatives. What is needed for a sustainable growth is exactly a coordination of financial resources. Then, if you like, we can say that probably a revolving fund supporting companies could be important, but this exists. We just need to use that and help SMEs to use. Second point, from my point of view, what is really needed is an harmonization of the curricula, the university curricula, according to the emerging jobs. This is something that probably is quite urgent. Our companies are looking for expertise that not always are provided by the university. So this is a second point from my point of view. Thanks.
sorry, yeah. May I just refer to your second remark, because this is one, the first one is important as well, but the second one, particularly when we are talking about education and educational system, and we are used to that knowledge goes from, let's say, one authority to the audience. But now the time has come for co-creation of this knowledge. Can you say something more about, just briefly, of this curriculum? Is this something what should be embedded in the old sense of curriculum, or can it be something what goes in parallel, like more exchange, more innovation?
No, what I have in mind is one experience that was some years ago carried out at Veneto region level, because I belong to that region. It is that there should be a coordination, for example, between the university, the region, and the entrepreneurial association. Many times the offer and the demands of jobs is not matched, don't match, because there is no clear dialogue. Second point, the region many times is supporting or identifying some strategic sectors, and those sectors many times are financially support. I make an example, social cohesion funds, for example, and this kind of employment strategy should be fully supported and taken into consideration when you are defining the curricula, the learning curricula. This is what I mean.
Yeah. Thank you very much for this remark, because we are all learning, and this discussion on European level is very vivid about that, really, how to bridge this, like you said, university, entrepreneurs, and regional aspects. So can I move directly to Anna now, because I saw you in the meantime. Yeah.
Yes, because university and education is, I'm very concerned with, of course, like being a professor of engineering. So I would like to immediately say something on this, because the idea, I do my research in chemical engineering research center, okay, and we took this turnover 7 years ago, and we have recruited a lot of researchers on numerics, on modeling, on simulation, in order to, on mathematics, to reinforce and to prepare us to form engineers that will be able to digitalize not the manufacturing industries that it exists already, this kind of education profiles, but to what is chemical and energy processes. And so, so this is the first thing. And so we have now a master of research that is on chemical engineering and artificial intelligence that will start next September. So this is the first element of that is it goes in the idea that Roberto has launched. And the other thing is this training, these courses that I have presented that are connected with this project Digital for Eco Industry are for people that are already in industry. So we have the master that will form people that engineers, so young people that are in their initial formation, education. And this formation that we have constructed is really something that the region asked us, because in the campus there was already demonstrators and courses to the manufacturing industries and not for the process industries.
Yeah. And
so the idea of this was to we have done this with Accelera, that is the cluster for chemical and environments in the region. So we are going to construct the contents of the courses in collaboration with the industrials that are asking to accelerate more information on these digitalization processes and tools also. Yeah. So it's a trio between us, the academics, the region, and the industrials. And we will ask them, we are planning, to construct the courses, we will have a commission with them to ask them what are the contents that you want to, that you need.
Thank you very much. It refers very much to exactly what Roberto opened. And now I would like to move to Luca. So what would you bring to the table as a necessary ingredient for a successful development of the story?
But first of all, I will say that I fully agree with Roberto and Anna. Of course, it is really clear that the finance per se is not a problem. The problem is to have good ideas, good projects, and good organization to be able to capture and to provide value using those financing to the finance. Of course, I mentioned this Dimension Hub and all the things that we do with the business association, and it is clear that even also in our region there is this kind of need of specific skills in the companies, and I think that this is something quite common in Europe. More or less, maybe some region is creating new programs which somehow trying to cover. But we all know that the academic world is quite conservative in a way, so it is sometimes it is hard to change so rapidly what the university is providing in terms of skills, because the industry is changing really fast. So it is a big question for all the knowledge bodies actually. Something that I would like to add is the ingredient is the role of intermediaries. I mean, the cluster managers and intermediaries like innovation hubs like us, I think they can play a key role, because they can translate in a way the needs of the regional systems of the companies with specific projects, trying to create a kind of, the word intermediary explains it all. I mean, they try to bring value to a specific sector, to specific categories, dealing with specific technologies. So intermediaries actually, like I think Giacomo represents, we can understand both the language of the companies, both the language of the market, the needs, the finance, but also technology. And this is something that we see every day. We need to explain the value that we can provide with technologies and new organization and processes to companies, because it is not granted. It is not easy for many small companies to understand the value that they can bring with this kind of support. So I think that innovation intermediaries really should play a key role.
Thank you very much. I will add here something. I cannot help myself, despite that I'm a moderator here, since in the European platform, the European Circular Economy platform, we are now developing or focusing very much on the network governance and on the role of transition brokers. So with Professor Jacqueline Kramer, the former Minister of Environment from the Netherlands, we are working on that, and I will share the link with you, because everyone is really invited to participate, and we will also introduce this topic as European topic during the Dubai Expo in January. So we can join forces still and do something, because we all recognize that as a crucial. And Giacomo, because it referred to you as one of transition brokers as well, very well skilled. So what are you bringing to the table, or what would you say to the goldfish to bring?
Wow, what a role. So of course I can agree with what was said by the other colleagues. Let me mention one important point that we see from companies and from the innovation environment. Circular economy is a very, very risky process for companies, especially for SMEs. because technology is not mature. They are there, but their, let's say, business potential is not yet proved at industrial scale. Even legislation is not fixed. We lack of supply chains for the circular economy. Not only a single company could become circular if does not have a supply chain circularly working together with the company, and many other barriers. So for the SMEs, it's really a very risky process. So what we think could be a great support is a support towards the uptake of such technology and circular approaches through demonstrators and pilot plants of the novel technologies in a supply chain view, as well as through an environment which offers services for the industrialization and business model design, okay, of circular economy for SMEs. So the topic of having demonstrators, pilot plants in the region, supporting especially SMEs to uptake such technologies, but not limited only to the technology, also to some business-oriented service is very, very important. And it should be important also considering the regional specialization of the various actors, because as I said, circular economy in Lombardy may differ from Slovenia or from Rhone-Alps and so on, but they should be combined. So we are in the EUSALP, and we have to find a way to integrate our circular businesses for a macro-regional circular economy approach. So from our point of view, there is the need of interconnected demonstrators, pilot plans for supporting SMEs in circular economy in the various EUSALP region.
Thank you. And Chris, based on everything what you have heard now, how would you wrap it up? And what is that you would bring now to this already? I have a mind map here drawing all these great ideas. So please.
Okay. I think, well, it's definitely true that circular economy is like a big thing. And the point is, where do you start? Certainly as an SME. And I think the notion of a pathway towards what would become really circular economy would be very helpful for these companies of, you know, which could be also associated to experts going to the companies. And I very much appreciate the projects that take the companies by the hand, not, of course, with all respect to what they already can do, but giving them the guidance on where to start. And certainly because there's a value network involved, just as Giacomo just said. So if you talk about maybe factory automation, it's maybe easier. You go in the factory and see which matters you could enhance or make more advanced. But with circular, it's a whole other story, because indeed you have to see where the other stakeholders are, or the suppliers, or how the clients can help you in achieving these challenges. So you need experts to guide companies. It's not that they fall out of the sky like that. So you would need to train them as well to provide this guidance. So I think that's an additional point.
Yeah, a very important point, because sometimes we are scared because we do not have the answers. But I always say, but we do have each other. So we can count on each other and really show how to move forward. We received one question, and with this question, we will conclude this discussion because it fits perfectly well. The question goes, is circular economy important enough in Alpine area to establish EUSALP's special action group for circular economy, macro-regional approach? So I would just a little bit reframe that. So the question goes like yes or no, because we have to be brief. So each of you to say yes or no, and then to add to that only one key competence that you see that the region has, so that we have also 6 key competencies at the end of this circle. So again, with you, Roberto, we start.
Yes, I agree. Actually, there is no action group on circular economy. the competence of circular economy are spread among several action groups, but probably they should be concentrated. So this is my idea. Secondly, I have one idea. From my point of view, the way to become front runners, just to be clear, is to exploit the peculiarities of the Alpine space region, looking at the circularity. From my point of view, we have three main things to take into consideration. The first one is the Alpine barriers, both from the morphology point of view, through the borders. There are a lot of barriers. On the other side, there is the risk of the marginalization. This shall be always remembered, and even the depopulation of some mountain areas. And last, from my point of view, the experience of the COVID-19. And all these things put together could become an opportunity for our Alpine area in terms of technology and new business model for the sustainable mobility. I think that this is a very important topic, because the sustainable mobility linked to the technologies that can be exploited to optimize the sector will support the urban area, will support the tourism, and will support the freight transport.
Thank you. It was more than we expected. We have to be very brief since the time is running out. Yeah, thank you. Anna, what would you add? Yes or no? And the competence the region has.
Okay, I will say yes. And I think that there are a lot of research groups on this region. And I think this group, they could be part of this group and reinforce what is needed on constructing demonstrators. I heard what Chris said. And what we are doing in Campus Région du Numérique, it's constructing these demonstrators, and of course it will be open to whatever enterprise wants to use them. So it's surely the research also.
Perfect, thank you. Yeah, Luca?
Yeah, I would say I'm a bit skeptical actually about a specific action group on circular economy, but just because we are, I mean, currently we are facing this topic, it's a very cross action group thing. So we are doing things involving research, economic sectors, environment, etc. So currently I don't see so much room for that, but we are still working with a cross action group approach. Regarding the region, I will say that research innovation and also including infrastructures is one aspect that we can really bring on board to support this circular economy approach. We have many small companies, we have many tier 2 companies, so it is very important, as Giacomo said, to de-risk the adoption of circular approaches. Maybe working with the OEM or tier 1 in other regions. There are a lot of things work doing in the value chain within regions in the Alpine area, so we can work on that, supporting with the research and innovation infrastructures. Thank you very much again.
Thank you. Giacomo, we jump to you.
Okay, I had another very practical consideration. So in the EUSALP region, we have, first of all, a very big industrial specialization, but then we also have a big vocation to tourism in the Alps. So combining the two would be something unique. Think about what happens in the Alpine ecosystems with tourism, with the competition. Think about sectors such as textiles, composite materials for for sport equipment, and so on. So maybe to study an ecosystem, a circular ecosystem, which is grounded on tourism and industrial vocation, of the area could be a good idea. There are already initiatives on that, but this is really unique from my point of view.
Thank you. I will share another link with you where this kind of initiative has been explored, but for Alpine region, actually, very good idea. And to conclude, yes, Chris, the final word is yours. So, wow.
Well, definitely, yeah. I'm not positioned to interfere in regional decisions from my angle, so I will not consider it top down, but the action group maybe has a particular mandate, so I will not interfere on that. What I think is relevant indeed to look from a regional perspective how circular can start. There's indeed, it's a value network thing, but maybe since you mentioned trust as indeed one of the enablers, it could start actually in a maybe a regional perspective and then take off.
Wow, thank you so much. I feel so empowered, hopefully you too, because there is so much potential and it's up to us really to make a great story out of that. So now I'm giving what to say, not only the word, but the whole playground back to Emanuele to introduce the last part of this very fruitful day.
Thank you so much. It was a very, very interesting discussion. I'm really looking forward to see a growing mountain region circular economy. As Giacomo Copani said, tourism industry and also agriculture and you know the wood sector that might play a major role with the bioeconomy here can really give a sense of the general systemic circular economy in the mountainous region.